Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Good morning. All right, let's kick it off with tell me something good. I have a bundle of them, but I think Barry wanted to share something. Barry, what do you got? Here, let's get Barry a mic. So we're doing a new thing with the mics. So in order for us to be able to, sorry.
All right, so a couple of things good. The main thing I want to say, well, one thing I want to say is that you can't make something go viral, but nothing in your social media. I just had one clip go to 173,000 views in 2 days. So you can't make something go viral, but it also won't go viral if you don't put it up. And so my team has been putting stuff up for a long time. Now we got the boost because we were connected to a Dr. Phil episode that they called me from. But the Dr. Phil episode was from another thing that somebody called me on that I put up online. So I guess what I'm trying to say is anything you do, get it up online because you don't know where it will lead. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So that's number one. Number two, that same original news story that I got interviewed for, that reporter just referred me to another reporter doing a story on another fire that squatters were involved with. So I just got reported. So the same thing again, make those connections because you don't know where they're going to lead, right? And I'm not doing anything special. That's just God's favor and the people calling me. The other thing is I wanted to give a shout out to JJ. Is he here? Oh, hey, JJ. How you doing, man?
He was a snake. He bit you, man.
Oh, my God. So I got a call from JJ, and he said, hey, have you talked to your buyer lately? And I was like, it's a past client from years ago. And he says, he just quit his job day before close of escrow. So I'm like, oh, crap. And my guy calls me. He's like, I didn't know it would matter. You told me the loan was approved. I'm like, well, I didn't know I had to tell you not to quit your job. I told you not to buy furniture. I told you not to do this. It just never occurred to me that you had to quit your job. You would quit your job before close of escrow. And so sure enough, I said, listen, JJ's got it. First, I called JJ and made sure he had it. And then I said, JJ's got this. He wants me to tell this story for the next 10 years. And so he is going to make sure it gets done. We're going to close escrow tomorrow, 1 day late. So
wow.
Awesome job, JJ. Thank you very much.
That tell me something good.
Awesome.
They do actually. They just didn't read them.
Well, I highlight them and make them sign them.
Oh, wow.
So that they realize, because I had one similar where the guy, we were selling their house, we got a bunch of money over asking, they were buying another house, and literally, like, the day they called to verify the job, he got fired. And so I'm like, great, so we had to cancel that whole escrow. We get into escrow again, I go, no. Job, and we get another job, get the whole thing going.
Online won't hear anything that's not on the mic.
Oh, sorry.
He literally, right before that closes, like a week before that closes, quits the job. I'm like, have you lost your mind? I mean, I was pretty brutal with him. And I'm like, you need to go beg, borrow, steal. I don't care what you have to do, but you need to go back and get your job today and get your job back. And we did. He got the job back and he closed it, but twice. And I had told him. And now I have him sign it.
Pro tip, get him to sign it. All right. And then we have a bunch of Tell Me Something Goods that I wrote down. We have Haley sold a house today, or sold a house this week. So give Haley a round of applause. Is Haley here? Nope. She's out selling another one. Miss Anna sold a house this week. Give Anna a round of applause.
I did too.
Marguerite sold a house this week. Janae sold a house this week. Crystal's in escrow. A guy named Edgar on the team's also in escrow. Yeah, keep it going, guys. This is good. Regina is actually showing, where's Gina? Gina is showing a buyer to one of Haley's listings today. So that's a Tell Me Something Good. And then Haley also has 4 new listings that just hit the market. So, by the way, I'd like to everybody please welcome. I've said this 3 times, you get tired of it. Please welcome we have a new agent here. She's brand new, Valerie Jennings. Welcome back.
Right.
lovely mama of my two boys. And I do want to call out somebody. We got a special guest, Margaret Harris. She's our preferred escrow officer. Yep. So if you have a preferred, stick with them. But if you're looking for somebody, highly recommend Margaret and her team. I call them Dos Heathers. So the two Heathers right there with Chicago title. They are in 925 Highland Point Drive. So right next door to us. So good stuff there. And then we have some upcoming events. Marguerite, we want to share about your upcoming event?
So this is the 5th annual Top Women in Real Estate event that we're doing. And it has sold out for the last 4 years. It's a great event. We do panels. We have women speak. Anybody that speaks is required to have done a minimum of $4 million in production. So I don't like going to events where they get up there and talk and you're like, you closed one deal in the last 5 years. So I do like to see that they are top producers. Casey Jiha, for all of you who know her, is coming to be our keynote speaker. And it's also going to be at my home in Lincoln, where we have 5 acres. So we're doing a garden party type event, and it will be from 8:30 in the morning till 1:30. It'll actually start about 9. We're going to have vendors there. So there'll be like a little shopping area. You can go and buy a few things if you like. And then we'll also be having a like continental breakfast, and then we'll have a lunch at the end. But it'll be a great, great day. It always sells out. So please don't procrastinate on getting your tickets. I have the QR code I can share with you, or you can go to the link. The cost is $30 to go, which covers your lunch and everything else. But it's a great, men are welcome too. We love you, men. And hey, there's going to be a lot of women there. So there you go. But it's a great event. It's like I said, we've had rave reviews about it every single year. And we are looking for a couple more panelists too. So if you know somebody who you think would be a great dynamic speaker, we're doing him in like 10-minute TED Talk type things. So you can ask questions and get around, but it's gonna be outside. It's gonna be a beautiful day. And I'm really looking forward to it. So I hope to see all of you there.
Yes. Thank you, Marguerite. All right. Yeah, so as the flyers are going around, we also have another event that's happening. We have upcoming event at PCAR. We're going to have, again, Marguerite and Sean Work speaking on how to get listings. So if you want to attend the listing masterclass, this is free, and it is on Thursday, May 16th at PCAR.
Sorry to take over. Just announced on Brent is going to actually be in town that week. So on Tuesday, the 14th, we're going to do an event in Elk Grove, location we're still working on in Elk Grove from 9 to noon. So Brent and a few of us are going to go down and do an event in Elk Grove similar. We're also doing one on Wednesday, the 15th in El Dorado Hills. It's going to be at Moonraker Brewery, also from 9 to noon. So we're going to have 3 jam-packed days for you to bring your guests, bring your agents, come yourself, and it should be really good.
Awesome. All right, so we got that coming up, and I think that's it in terms of upcoming events. So JJ Mack, you mind coming on up and giving us a lender update? Everybody, please clap him to the front of the room.
Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Thursday. All right, so a couple cool things here. I got a slick program to share with you guys. Want to hear a slick program? All right. It's very slick. So I've got something called a link loan. Have you guys heard of a link loan before? No? You've heard of link loan? Yeah, I know you have. All right, so what a link loan is, you guys ever have an I-10 client or DACA? Or maybe you've worked with a client who's had a self-employed for 1 year that couldn't qualify, or maybe a 1099 employee that wrote off everything, or a gig worker or something like that, and just had a ton of 1099s. This could be for them. So if you have somebody that you want to put into a home and they want to buy a home, they just don't qualify based off of these things, and they have a little money in the bank, this could allow them to purchase a home today. What you do with this is it's actually an equitable title interest on that property. So I know we got a couple title people in the room. They could probably tell you more about that than me. But what I will say is this: the home does not go into their name legally. So, but what it does do is it gives them the permission to live in that house and do whatever they want with the house. And after 3 years, they can sell the home, They can refinance the home even, or they can assume the current loan. The current loan that's on there is actually an FHA loan, and who holds that title is actually an Indian reservation. So there's a couple that we work with, and you do not have to have a credit score if you're an I-10 client. So there's a lot of cool things about this loan. It is a little bit higher interest, but it will go to a 40-year term. So the payment's actually pretty affordable. So it's a very cool program. If you have somebody that they just don't qualify, and maybe they've been turned down, this will allow them to get to that point of purchasing. We're out there in the market right now with one of our loan officers that works on our team. He's going to all the new home builders and offering this product. And he's been able to find several clients that have been moving from other countries, coming here, that just don't have credit scores, that have I-10s, and we've been able to help with this program. So it's only a 3.5% down payment. There is a point associated with it, so they have to pay a little bit of money for it. So they do have to have some money in the bank, but that money doesn't have to be seasoned. It can be coming from, I don't know, Tanzania or wherever the heck, right? You can get it from whoever, whenever, and you can still use it. So it's a great program to have. Any questions about that program you guys want to ask right off the bat? Doesn't have to have a credit score. If they're I-10 or DACA, yeah. If not, you can go as low as a 600 credit score. Yeah. So I will yeah, I'm gonna pass these flyers out. It's got my office line and cell phone on here. And if you want to pass those around, Marguerite, and then so that's a cool program. Keep that going. The other thing I want to share with you guys is an event we have going on. It's our Cinco de Mayo party, and I want you all to be there. And no matter if you're a lender in the room, if you're a title, or whoever, I want you guys to come. The reason why we do these parties is because we value you. We value you as partners, and we want to give back to you. And so please come. Please bring whoever you want. Bring your kid, whatever. We've got a taco truck. We've got cervezas. We've got margarita mixer there. We're going to have a mariachi band. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so I'll pass these ones around as well on this side of the room, Jose. And if there's any questions you have about that, let me know. And then reach me. Yeah, you can text us all. You can text us all at 517-1800, 916 area code. Any questions for the lender today? Anybody have anything that you guys want to go over, or anything I can ask or need from me? Which one? Dream for All. The Dream for All program, we're still accepting they're still accepting applications up until the 29th. I think it's the 25th today, right? So we got 4 more days. So if you guys have anybody, got 4 more days to go into that. They still haven't released when they're going to share the results. So by that 29th, it's going to close, but then we're not going to know when it's going to share who's going to be getting those in that lottery system. So we'll be finding that out hopefully very soon. Johnny asked about interest rates. So we've got some not so great news this week. We're hoping for tomorrow some inflation data to come out that might help a little bit, but interest rates now are over that 7% mark on average. So don't let that get you down though. There's still a lot of great opportunities out there. There's no inflation, yeah. I could get into that, but I won't right now, yeah. Thank you guys.
All right, thanks, JJ. All right, guys. So before we get to our keynote speaker for today, we have some special guests from PCAR. They're going to talk to us a little bit about all that is PCAR. So come on up, gentlemen. Yeah.
Well, there's 3 of us here. Good. So we're going to put up the first slide.
Yep.
Let me do this. I'm Chuck Townsend.
I'm Rick Siegel.
I'm Steve Marr.
Welcome. Yeah.
So this is the reading test. We want you to read this. We're not going to say anything.
And then we're going to ask questions about it. Who in this room here has actually been to one of our meetings? Oh, good. I
Okay.
want to see some nice
All
ones
right.
there. I want to see some regular. That would be extremely helpful.
Yeah, we're here to encourage you to come and attend the meetings here in Rockland or in Auburn, California. All right, let's go to the second slide. Oh, so, so we can all talk.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Yeah, I can
Okay.
share with Steve.
So let me just tell you about PCAR from my perspective. I've been involved in PCAR for, let's say, the last 8 years. It's part of my business.
Sure, we can do that.
You want to hear us? Okay, good. All right. So it's part of my business, and it enables me to build connections with others in the industry. And I learned so much from just being at the meetings on Tuesdays, 8:30 here,
8:30 here in Rockland.
and 8:30 in Auburn. So
Thursday morning. Yeah, just like today. For example, today, excuse me, Chuck, today's learning from experts. Well, today we actually had a wonderful presentation on credit rebuilding. And it wasn't necessarily about the individual promoting their business. It was about what it takes to actually build your credit and all the components to what it goes into actually getting your credit score up so that you can qualify for a loan. Right, JJ?
Right.
So there we go.
the next thing is education. On Fridays at PCAR,
Lunch and Learns.
Lunch and Learns. If you sign up by 2 o'clock, it's $5. If you come to the door, it's $10. But there's great classes every Friday. So it's a great way to learn more about how to do your business. Mutual support. I walked in this morning and a title company rep and I talked about an issue that we were dealing with. Wonderful opportunity to share back and forth. There's a lot of folks that you can learn from and get support for your deals.
And it's not just learning from them, it's actually getting to know them, building relationships so that you can build trust. That's really the most important part when you're trying to build your network, is to have people that you can trust, that you know are going to follow through with what you have. We're all extremely busy. We would love to be able to clone each other from time to time, but we just can't do that. So the best thing to do is to have people that you know and you trust, and you know that you can get the job done.
The other is community. We get to learn about community. Coming to PCAR, I have the opportunity to meet with county supervisors, the city mayors, the fire department, CAL FIRE.
Yeah, that's right.
All of these things because we as realtors are expert in our field, and it gives you more information that you can just share with your clients.
And then giving back, we have various programs throughout the year. We're going to be volunteering at the Placer Food Bank and a variety of other places throughout the year that you can give back to your local community, not just on a state level or even a county level, but right here in our own region. So that's really important to be able to do that from time to time.
And in the next little while, we're going to go to Sacramento.
That's right. Ledge Day. Who's going to Ledge Day? Only one? Kara, you're the only one?
Yeah.
Oh, Tony's in the back. Okay, good.
Right.
Ledge
So-
Day is very important.
Also, there's ethics. I'm also on the grievance committee at PCAR.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
And we get to hear complaints.
Complaints.
But we also learn about property rights and the legislation that support that we're doing.
That's right.
So, and we're protecting our business. So let's go to so here's some of the value points, the benefits. We learned the why, now the benefits. There's local legislation that we might want to take advantage of to protect us and promote our business. Dispute resolution. I hear some complaints from time to time. Education and motivation. There's the formal classes, but there's also the informal communications around the meeting. Coming a little early, talking to friends, and allowing input on issues that you're dealing with.
And just getting different perspectives on those topics is really important to be able to bounce things off. You might have an idea, you might even come to a conclusion about a particular topic, but having someone else to talk to about it makes a big difference. And
makes you just even more empowered.
MLS, just knowing how to use the MLS to your benefit is, by the
Who
way,
feels
there's
that they're an expert dealing with the MLS? Okay, it's hard, isn't it? There's a lot to it, a lot of components to it. Just being able to work through that. And Melissa Balke comes in, she speaks to our group all the time and helps us, navigate through all that crazy website, right?
and there's a class this afternoon.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we talked about the Rockland meeting, and what time is the Rockland meeting?
Anybody know? And what about in Auburn? There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
Yes.
every
It's every
Thursday. It's
No, it's
it's
been that way forever.
it's the best.
Since the pandemic.
It's a great family up in Auburn, and we welcome you to join our family.
It's a totally different vibe. So if you've been to the Rockland meeting, you know it's a little more structured, very formal. It's very, I don't want to use the word sterile, but I just did. But the point is that it can be just a little bit more, everybody knows exactly what they're going to do. Believe me, Auburn's a whole different ballgame. You go up there and there's a lot of audience participation. And
Yeah.
everybody that goes there is just, it's more like a giant family. It truly is. It's a
Well,
lot of fun.
One of our members had a heart attack,
That's right.
and we
Just
we
weeks
care
ago.
about everyone that attends our meetings. And one of the key points of this morning's meeting was getting an update on how he was doing.
Yeah.
So we also have partnerships with various businesses, whether there's a window cleaning or photography.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
even photographers join us for that.
That's right.
And chimney sweeps. We want
And
to
Jimmy
remember
Sue.
that.
Can't
Okay.
forget about him.
Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So this is the list.
Yep.
We have 1031 exchange companies that come. Bill came all the time. Yeah.
She's taking over.
So this is a partial list of the folks, photographers are on the list. But the most important thing
be
as a
bold.
realtor is to build your list of people you can refer to. And this helps you build a list of people you have confidence in and you can take your business to.
Really, it's just like what I said earlier. It's about building that relationship to the point where you can trust that person. And the people on this list, not necessarily the individuals, but the actual categories, these people have all been not necessarily vetted, but they're people that come regularly. And so people like Lexi and Kara, I see you guys every week. So, I mean, we know that you're going to come. So I automatically just feel comfortable, talking to you about whatever it is. Obviously, it could be anything, but my point is that I trust you because I know you. And that makes a big difference. So coming to the meetings is what we're trying to encourage you to do. Come to the meetings, get to know the people, and let us actually become friends and trusted associates.
We have one more chart. Do we have one more chart? We have committees, and there's a lot of committees that you can participate in. You could join. We have affiliate. Are you on the affiliate?
I'm
committee?
on the affiliate committee. I'm also,
We're on, the three of us are on the ambassador committee. There's a communications, there's
Steve's our
grant
boss,
fee,
by the way.
there's education, Realtor Action Fund. And so this is a list of where you could connect with us and serve. It's a great opportunity for you to develop your business and to connect with people that can make your business more sound.
And did I mention there's free breakfast at both places? So that's a big plus right there.
And coffee.
Coffee.
And coffee.
Yeah, that's right.
These two are responsible for coffee at the Auburn meeting. And
That's right.
It's wonderful that we have coffee to wake up. So, well, thank you very much for allowing
Hold
us
on
to
just a
come.
second.
Sorry, I'm going to take about 30 seconds here. So I'm going to ask Marguerite a question really quick, put you on the spot. Is there a benefit when you go to the meeting on Tuesday morning here in Rockland? Is there anything off the top of your head as a benefit to going to that meeting? Just curious.
I think the networking is probably the best part, building and maintaining the relationships that I've established over the years.
So what I'm hearing you say, and this is where I wanted to jump in, two things. Number one, I know that Rick and Chuck have done a great job, and they talk about our commit, our meeting, or this or that. It's yours. I don't think there isn't anybody here that's an agent within this office that isn't a member of PCAR. Maybe maybe somebody might be here that's SAR, but I doubt it, right? So it's not about it's all of ours. Okay, so we're speaking about this, and you already have all these things available to you in terms of a benefit. The thing I wanted to speak to is what Marguerite just mentioned, and Rick and Chuck kind of hit on this, and I'm not going to drive it home. Marguerite, I know, goes to these meetings, has been going for years. I see Barry, I see a lot of you there. But those of you who we don't see, the idea is you have an opportunity to network outside of your brokerage. You may have 5 offers on a property, and you have somebody that you've just met last Tuesday at a meeting, and all of a sudden they remember that conversation, whatever. Not necessarily that it's going to bump you up, but it certainly helps when you know that you can have that phone conversation talking about how great your buyers are. There's also a second opportunity. Just this morning, I saw 2 individuals walk up during the moment of talking about upcoming listings and coming new to the market and what, just about to go on, and all these different pieces, wants and needs. Well, somebody had talked about right now, there's a property that I can't remember exactly location-wise, 2.5 acres. There's 2 pastures, Wolf Road, 3 pastures. It's a manufacturer that was built in '97, $450,000 on 2.5 acres. That's a pretty darn good deal. While I was watching this, 2 other agents walked up after that was announced and wanted to get the information right then. You have opportunities in those meetings when those things are brought up. That's why we're kind of trying to promote those meetings. In addition to the committees, there's work that needs to be done, and we can use help everywhere. Okay? So anyways, sorry to jump in, guys. I just heard a couple things that got missed.
One more thing, and then we're going to move on.
Part of it is we get to go on tour. We get to see inventory, and we get to go to a number of different locations, and we get to learn about what's out there. And that's really, really important. And while you're visiting, you get to visit with the agent that's got the property on market. And there's a dialogue that can go on, and you can learn more about what's going on with that piece of property.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, guys, give them a round of applause. So has anybody had any experience with 1031 exchanges? Raise your hand. Or Marguerite. All right. Who wants to learn more about 1031s? Because we hear about this phrase all the time. All right. I see a bunch of hands. And then Bill Gove has retired, as Marguerite alluded to earlier. But you know how I found out? Because Bill was supposed to speak today. And I was like following up with this guy, and he's like, dude, I retired. I'm done. And so that's how we have Donnelly. Please welcome to the front of the room, Miss Donnelly.
Thanks, everybody, for having me. I do, yes. I have a stack of cards right here. I'll just put them here. So thanks for having me today. Sorry to spring me on you instead of Bill. I know he was well-known and well-loved throughout the community, but we're real happy for Bill to retire. He earned it after 25 years putting up with all of us collectively, but now Bill's doing great. I actually talk to Bill now more in retirement than I did when he actually worked with us. So I am API's COO. I've been with the company for about 20 years. So even though I'm not super well known in the community, I've been around 1031s for a long time. So I'm here to give you all a little bit of education about 1031s, even though I'm sure all of you have heard about 1031 exchanges, and some of you probably even know quite a bit about them. I'll give you some more detail and then probably dispel some misconceptions about a lot of the rules that come up quite frequently when we're talking to clients. So the next slide. So a little bit about asset preservation. We are a Stewart Titles qualified intermediary. We have been in business since 1990 and have done over 200,000 exchanges in all 50 states. And we're very proud of that, and also proud of the fact that we are give the best security of funds, expertise, and service to all of our clients. So the tax code, the 1031 exchanges, they're not actually new. Since 1921, the 1031 has been around to offer taxpayers that own investment property the ability to potentially defer taxes that would be otherwise due if they just sold the property. So 1031 offers them a really valuable strategic opportunity to defer payment of those taxes if they reinvest into another type of investment property. So been around for a long time. 1990, when asset preservation came into business, is remarkable because that's when the regulations were actually enacted that kind of defined the rules around how you do a 1031 exchange. So talk a little bit about the difference between a sale and an exchange, because there is a distinction that needs to be made. A sale is a taxable event, right? A sale is an exchange of property for cash. An exchange, a 1031 exchange, is the exchange of property for property and is not a taxable event. So that's a distinction that needs to be made. So property for cash versus property for property. Next slide. So why do it? Obviously, the taxes, not having to pay the taxes, that's the major one. Building wealth, being able to leverage the dollars that you would otherwise pay to Uncle Sam. Now you can use those to increase your buying power on the replacement property. Reallocating assets. Maybe you're moving from a non-income producing property into an income producing property. And then estate planning, diversifying or minimizing risk as you're planning for retirement, or you're doing some estate planning for your family later on down the line. So all very valid reasons to do a 1031 exchange. Touched on taxes. It's not just capital gain taxes. One thing that's often overlooked is depreciation recapture. That's a big one. It's taxed at 25%. That's huge, really often overlooked. Sure. So depreciation recapture is everything's depreciated the second you buy it, right? Everything depreciates in value. Residential property is depreciated over 27 and a half years. So every year you can take a tax deduction of a portion of how much your property is going to depreciate. The government's going to tax you on that at 25%. So, and investment property is depreciated. Your primary residence is not depreciated. So that's taxed. If you own a property for 10 years, they're going to tax 25% of the depreciation that was on that property over for that 10 years. Then the federal capital gain tax is 15 or 20% just based on your income. Most of the time, you're going to pop into that 20% if you're selling a property, because you're going to include that income from the sale of the property, plus the net investment income tax, or Obamacare, at 3.8%. And then you have state taxes, which range from 0 to 13.3%, California being the highest at 13.3%. So when you sell a property in California, you're at over 37% taxed. So to do a 1031 exchange and save that 31% to push into the next property, it's extremely valuable to you. So what kind of property can you sell and buy in an exchange? First is it has to be real property, and it has to be like kind. Everything you see on this slide is real property, and everything is like kind. So you can go to the next slide. So what doesn't qualify is your primary residence. You can't exchange a primary residence, and you can't exchange property that you held for resale or dealer property. So people that are flippers are not doing 1031 exchanges because they hold those to resell. And builders or companies whose main source of income comes from the sale of real property, they cannot 1031 exchange those properties. What does qualify is any type of real property, any type of property that's classified as real property that is held for productive use in a trade business or for long-term investment. That's qualified. So that's going to be residential, commercial, real estate, large multifamily, small multifamily residential, agricultural, raw land, non-tangible real property like easements, water rights, air rights, 30 fractional ownership interests, leaseholds, lots of different, very broad range of real like kind property. Go ahead. So let's talk a little bit about the delayed exchange. This is the most common type of exchange where you sell first and buy second, and that's called a delayed exchange. And getting into the mechanics of that, it all starts with the taxpayer or the person that owns the relinquished property. So go ahead and, so it all starts with the taxpayer. They own the relinquished property. They're going to sell that. Go ahead. If you want to just kind of advance through this whole thing, and then I'll explain it one more. Okay, so it starts with the taxpayer. They sell their property and the deed is transferred to the buyer of that property. And then the buyer's proceeds are transferred to the qualified intermediary. The qualified intermediary or asset preservation would hold those funds until the taxpayer is ready to buy their replacement property. When the replacement property is purchased, the qualified intermediary transfers those funds to the seller, and the seller's property is transferred to the taxpayer, and that completes the 1031 exchange. All of this happens with traditional closings, and it all happens within 180 days. So you can go to the next slide. So the time requirements are the first time requirement, everything starts on the day that they close the sale of the relinquished property. And the first time requirement is they have 45 days to identify their replacement property. And they have 180 days to identify or to close on the replacement property that they identified. So go ahead and hit advance like twice. Okay. So they have a total of 180 days to complete their exchange and buy their replacement property, but they have to identify that replacement property within the first 45 days. And go ahead to the next one. To identify that replacement property, it's not just I'm going to tell my real estate agent or I'm going to tell my brother. There's very specific things that they have to do. They have to do it in writing. It has to be signed. They have to deliver it to the qualified intermediary by midnight of their 45th day, and they have to unambiguously describe the property that they're identifying. They can't just say, I'm going to buy a house in Roseville. That does not work. They can't say, I'm going to buy a house on, 5th Street in Roseville. They have to be very specific, a street address and a unit number or some distinguishable name that distinguishes that property from any other property. Then, separate from that, are the rules of how many properties they can identify. The first, they kind of default, you start in one rule, and then if you break that rule, you fall into the next one, and then you fall into the next one. So the first rule is the 3-property rule, which says they can identify up to 3 properties without regard to the fair market value of those properties. So if we make up fictional character Mary, and she's selling for $1 million, and she wants to buy 1 property, she's probably going to identify in this 3-property rule. She's going to say, I'm going to identify 1 or 2, maybe 3 properties, so I have some backups. She's going to stay here. This 200% rule says I can identify as many properties as I want, as long as the aggregate fair market value of those properties does not exceed 200% or double what I sold for. So Mary sold for $1 million. She wants to identify more than 3 properties, say 5 or 6. That's fine, as long as the aggregate fair market value of those properties does not exceed $2 million. If Mary breaks this rule and she breaks this rule, so she's more than 3 properties, she's over 200%, then she ends up in the 95% rule, which says she has to buy 95% of the value of the properties that she identified, which in the real world means that Mary needs to buy pretty much everything she ID'd. Yeah. Most people don't want to be here. This is a scary place to be, especially in this market where things fall out of escrow or go bye-bye really fast. So usually people want to stay within one of these 2 rules. If they're buying 1 property, they're going to be in the 3 property rule. If they want to take their exchange monies and diversify into multiple properties, they're usually going to be in this 200% rule. All right. Yes. So 3 properties that the value of what's identified doesn't matter. She could identify 3 properties at $10 million a piece. Right, so that's the requirement for full tax deferral. So can you advance to the next slide? Yeah. So completely dependent of the identification rules is what do you need to spend on your replacement property to defer all your taxes. So the identification rules are just there because the IRS doesn't want Mary going and identifying everything that's on the MLS. They want her to be very limited, right? So they're saying you can only if you want to identify 10 properties, that's fine, but we're going to limit the amount that you can identify. That doesn't have anything to do with how much she needs to spend in order to defer all of her capital gain taxes. So I think that's your question, where she needs to be over $1 million. The requirements for full tax deferral are that you reinvest all of the net proceeds from your sale and you take on equal or greater debt, and that you don't acquire any non-like-kind property. So another way of saying that is that you buy for equal to or greater than what you sold for, and you reinvest all of the cash from the sale as well. So going back to Mary, who sold for $1 million, if she has maybe a $250,000 loan on that property, she's going to net $750,000. She needs to buy a property for at least $1 million with that whole $750,000 going into that replacement property. She can't take, her $200,000 basis out and say, that's tax-free because that was my basis in the property. All the cash has to go into that replacement property. All right, next slide. So touching on just a couple of exchange variations, I'm not going to go into the mechanics of these exchanges, but they're just good to kind of have in your back pocket if you have a client that isn't falling into the typical exchange scenario. The first one is the reverse exchange. These are very helpful exchanges if you have a client that has a property that they need to buy before they can sell their relinquished property. It's the perfect property, it's got a 15-day close, and their sale isn't even listed yet. The reverse exchange is going to work for them. The second one is an improvement exchange. They want to use their exchange dollars to make capital improvements to the property that they're purchasing, maybe bring up the value to meet that requirement for full tax deferral. The improvement exchange works for them. And then the last one is you can combine a reverse and improvement. They find the perfect property, but it's maybe not up to value, so they can use proceeds to improve the value of that property. But all of this is going to start happening before they sell their relinquished property. That's the reverse improvement exchange. Yes.
So I've had the question come up, what if they have what if they have done a 1031 exchange, but now they want to move into that property?
Yeah.
How does the taxes work, the tax consequences work on that?
So if they have if they bought the property and they've seasoned it for a little while as an investment property, and now they want to move into it, the act of them moving into the property does not create a taxable event. So that process happens kind of seamlessly. If they live in it for a few years and then they decide that they want to sell it, they can now take advantage of the section 121 primary residence exclusion, where if you're single, you can exclude 250 up to $250,000 of capital gain. They can, if they've lived in it, they have to have owned it 5 years, at least 5 years. They have to have lived in it 2 out of those last 5 years.
Just like the normal rule.
Yes,
So then they could technically avoid the capital gains by doing that if they occupied it.
kind of. Because you can only, so the rule is 250 if you're single, 500 if you're married, but they don't get the whole exclusion. They only get the amount of the exclusion relative to the number of years that it qualified as their primary residence. So if they lived in it for 5 years, or if they owned it for 5 years and they lived in it for 2, rented it for 3, they get let's say they have just 250 in gain, they get 2/5 of that 250 excluded because it only qualified as their primary residence for 2 years.
What if they live in it 5 years?
If they lived in it 5 years, they have to have owned it 5 years. So that would have started as a rental.
Amount of time that they owned it as a rental?
It never will, right? Because they started out as an exchange property. We'll say they seasoned it for 2 years and then they moved into it. They have to own it at least 5 years to qualify for that exception. And so let's say they own it a total of 10 years. They lived in it for 7 years. They can take 70% of that $250,000 exclusion because it qualified as their primary residence 7 years and it qualified as an investment property for 3 years. Is that making sense?
Yes
Kinda,
and
sorta.
no, kind of, sort of, a little
It's,
cloudy.
it's a lot of math.
Yeah, so I would just
Yeah.
have to call you guys when that happens. But I've had people say that I want to, yeah, I want to do a 1031 exchange, but I ultimately, can I ultimately move into it to avoid paying the capital gains when you sell it?
The answer is yes. And the longer that you live in it, the smaller your capital gain liability will be because the more of that exclusion you're going to be able to take. So the short answer is yes. So that's up to your kind of your tax advisor. Most tax advisors are going to tell you to let an investment properties to season for about 2 years. A more aggressive tax advisor might say 12 months and a day so that it shows on 2 tax returns as an investment property. So it just kind of depends on how aggressive you want to get. And being from California, the question is, how aggressive do you want to get with the Franchise Tax Board? They aggressively audit 1031 exchanges. So yeah, there you go. So that's really question. If you are, super just by the book tax guy and you want to act a little bit more aggressively on that, maybe 12 months and a day works. The other issue is, what are the facts and circumstances behind that change? Did you purchase with the intent to use it as an investment property and then life changed and you had to move into the property? That doesn't disqualify you from moving into it before any seasoning happens. The IRS doesn't put a timeline, a specific timeline on how long you have to hold something for it to qualify as an investment property for that reason. So there's the facts and circumstances can determine when you make changes. So that's all I have today. Does anybody else have any other questions? Yeah. A standard delayed exchange. She asked what the cost was. A standard delayed exchange is $1,250. That will cover 1 sale and up to 3 purchases. That's a flat fee. We're not going to charge you any additional wire fees, any rush fees, doc fees. We try to make it easy because the rest of it's pretty complicated. So yes.
So 10 years is the magic number to get converting it from a rental property into a primary?
So I was just using that as an example to maybe make the math a little bit easier, that you could move into it. To be conservative, he said, was 10 years kind of the magic number to move into it after you did a 1031 exchange into the property?
You had used the example of it being an investment property for 2 years or 3 years and then moving it in for 7. And that would allow you to have 70% of that would be, would not count as capital gains.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it take to make that 100 using that example? Would that just be another
It's
3
never
years?
going to be 100%,
Okay.
but the longer you own it, the closer you're going to get to but you like, right? Like it could be 99% at some point, but you're always going to have some portion of it taxable because it
'Cause-
didn't always qualify as your investment property.
This making sense? Okay. All right. Good.
Okay.
We're good.
Sorry. Oh, so what if you exchange outside of California? Yes, you can exchange outside of California, but California has a clawback rule. So California says, we'll allow you to exchange out of California. We'll allow you to push off paying your California state taxes, but you have to file Form 3840 every single year as you continue to own that property outside of the state of California. And if you continue to exchange, you have to keep filing that form. As soon as you stop filing that form, they're going to want their money. You're going to pay your taxes to California for back to when you originally sold that property. So, yes. So the question was, what does it look like if you go beyond the 45 days and you can't find a property to purchase, right? So if you cannot identify a property by the 45th day, your exchange fails. Those deadlines are unmovable. They do not get extended. If they fall on a weekend, it doesn't go to the following Monday. If they fall on a major holiday, you don't get any extensions. Your 45th day is your 45th day. The only time that those dates are ever extended is if there is a federally declared disaster and the IRS says that the date that tax deadlines are extended. So California had a lot of those last year, a ton of them. Everybody knows what October 16th is. So it does happen, but those are the only times those dates have been extended. So if you don't identify by the 45th day, your exchange fails. If you can't purchase your replacement property that you identified by the 180, then your exchange fails. Yes. 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 So the question was, can you start searching earlier? Absolutely. And we encourage people to do that, especially now. Start looking as your property is in escrow, but even before it goes on escrow, you can go into contract on your replacement property before you close your relinquished property. You just want to make sure that the closing dates line up. Sale first, purchase second. You can even close them on the same day, do a simultaneous exchange. We can accommodate that as well. We just have the money go directly from the sale closer to the buy closer. Yep. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's true though. If you call asset preservation, you call our toll-free number and hit option 2. I will pick up the phone. Javier Vandestieg, our president, will pick up the phone. Bob Shart, our VP of sales, will pick up the phone. Our counsel, Aaron Riley, will pick up the phone. So we have our top people picking up the phone and answering questions for you or your clients, because we want to make sure that everybody's getting the best information right off the bat. So, and we do this for free. So we give the information for free, not the service, but we want to make sure everybody has the right information right out of the gate. Hi, Bill. Hi, Bill.
All right, guys. Any other questions? Was this helpful? All right. Give her a round of applause, please. Donnelly.
Thanks, everybody.
And then did you all get business cards too? There should have been enough business cards for everybody. So what we will wrap up with really briefly is just, can you throw Zenlist up there, Jose? What's the plan with training on this? I'm looking at Crystal and Jose. So yeah, you can stalk Crystal. Yeah. Yeah. So okay, good question. Cindy asked the question, what is Zenlist? Yeah, Cindy's been out cruising the world, seen Montana, seen Kevin Costner. All right, so Zenlist is something that came out with EXP, I don't know, man, a while ago. And what it does is because we are all considered one big office, it allows us all to market our listings to each other off market without starting the days on market clock. This is something the traditional brokerages are unable to do because they have independent offices. So we're not breaking any rules here. It's just we found a loophole. And what it does is you can log into your passport on EXP or with EXP, and you'll see this Zenlist. It looks like this logo up here. If you can see that, that little Zenlist logo. If you just click on that, it'll ask you to log in, create an account. Again, this is free. It's provided through EXP. You log in with your passport. If you try to link it with the MLS, it will not work because you won't be able to do the coming soon because our MLS does not allow coming soons. So you have to do it through EXP. And then what you're able to do is you're able to see all the coming soons that local EXP agents and across the state have put in here. So you can set up the filters. So actually this is across the country, I believe. But we have it set up. So these are our coming soons. So in the mornings, we're going to start going over the coming soons. But if you're just curious and you want to know what they are in advance before coming on Thursdays, like I have had so many calls of other agents who are using this. The problem is that not everybody's using it. It's like double entry. That's why there's not a lot of adoption. Like, why is an agent going to put their coming soon on here and then put it in the MLS? That's the problem. And so the more agents that are using this, the more valuable this is, because then you can go out and tell your buyers, hey, I have off-market opportunities. You can tell your sellers, hey, I'm going to network it to my, 700 agents, EXP locally, my 700 agents locally that are going to now know about these properties coming up before anybody else does. And people like what they can't have. You're not there. If they can go on, see it on Zillow and Realtor.com, that's not special. But if like, here's something that you can see and only your competitors, your competitor buyers are not going to be able to see this, it creates some excitement, and it's all here on Zenlist. So that is what it is. It's free. What questions do y'all have? There's also an app. There's an app for this. Yeah, so you can download the app. If you have any questions, we'll probably have some basic training coming up for this. We might even just dedicate one Thursday meeting to Zenlist. That you'd like that? Marguerite's in favor. Raise your hand if you're in favor of the, okay, great. Online, you like this too?
I just hope I don't figure out how to narrow it down to just my area. I get them from
All over the place. Yeah, it's a bit much.
it's
It-
kind of making me crazy.
All right. Oh, yes. Yes. On KV Core. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So I stumbled into this class. I stumbled into Steve and Alex doing a class on KV Core and training. He does it every Friday. I just wanted to give him a plug because what he's done is these 4 easy, simple, amazing steps that all of you should be doing. I know Steve did it. He walked out about 4 or 5 months ago, and he's been generating 2 or 3 meaningful conversations from his people. So it's in this room tomorrow, 10 o'clock on Fridays.
And it's also via
promoting
Zoom,
that.
right? You do it Zoom too, right?
Correct. It's also via Zoom. Yeah. All right, guys, that's all we had for today. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next week. Bye, all. Bye, online.